Hey everyone, excited to be back for this week's edition of Frequently Asked Questions for Commercial Real Estate. In today's video, what I thought I'd do is talk about a question that I got asked recently, which is, what are some of the top lessons you've learned from being in the commercial real estate business? Now, as many of you guys know, I've actually been in the business roughly about a year and a half now, so I can't profess to know everything about the industry. However, I will share some of the top 4 things in particular that I've learned over my young career that have been extremely beneficial to me, and I'm sure will be extremely beneficial to you in particular if you're just starting out in the business. So, the first lesson that I learned, and this was actually a lesson that I learned early on in the process, was that it's going to take a while for you to get going. I was actually very lucky in the sense that I was able to close my first deal roughly 6 to 8 weeks when I got in the business. I was able to source it from one of my networking groups. And when I closed that small office lease deal, I was like, oh, this is great. I was able to get the first deal under my belt, which I thought was going to be the hardest. And, it was all going to be uphill from there. But in reality, it took me about 2 to 3 months after that before I closed my next deal. So there were 2 or 3 months of me working my tail off, getting out there, networking with people, trying to source deals through networking with owners and different professionals in Louisville. And I wasn't able to source anything until that 3-month timeline hit. So understand that regardless of the activity that you put in, there may be times where you hit and there's other times where it's going to be very lean. So especially when you're first starting out, I would encourage you to have some reserves in place, preferably 3 to 6 months of reserves, to account for the fact that it's going to take you a little while to get going. Luckily, in my case, I was living in a 4-plex, was able to rent out some of the other units, and was able to eliminate my housing expense. So my expenses were inherently low, and I did have some reserves in place to be able to account for that. But one thing that I would recommend, probably the best thing you could do, especially if you're getting into the business, is to make sure you have some reserves in place and understand that put in the activity, get out there, network and everything else, but understand that it's likely going to take you some time to get going because those deals tend to be a lot longer, and it'll take you some time to actually close those deals. So number 1 is to understand it takes a while to get going. Number 2 lesson that you should learn, and I would recommend you do, is to establish strong relationships with great service professionals and banks. Now, the reason I say this is because you want to become the go-to resource for your clients. If they have a question about, a contractor, you want to be the first person they call. If they have a question about someone who does pavement for their parking lot, you should be the first person they call. So being able to establish those relationships with those individuals makes you the go-to point person so that relationship is solidified, because down the road, you may do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 transactions with your clients. So you want to make sure that they keep you top of mind all the time, and being able to provide them with those great service professionals is a great way to do that. Also, establishing great relationships with bankers is crucial. The reason for this is because not every bank is going to want to do a particular deal. So if you have a client that wants to start a restaurant, for example, there's a lot of banks out there that won't even touch it, but there may be some other banks that will. So being able to establish relationships with all these different types of banks, so that once you do source a client, you could say, okay, for your concept, for what you're trying to do, let's talk to these banks. Or for what you're trying to accomplish, call this person, call this person, call this person, will inherently increase the odds of you closing that deal at the end of the day. So one of the first things I did when I first started in the business was just reach out to bankers at different local banks and go have coffee with them, get an understanding of the terms that they offer, get an understanding of what their appetite is for certain industries, so you can essentially create a list of those individuals, so that once you do source particular clients, you can tell them, hey, reach out to these individuals, and make sure that you're able to, get the financing that you need in order to close on that particular property. So number 2 is to establish strong relationships with high quality service professionals, and then also bankers in your area. Number 3, and this is something that I continue to do and I encourage everyone to do in whatever industry you're in, is to commit to building your brand. People do business with people that they trust. The best way to build trust with people is to become a recognized expert in whatever you decide to do. Again, I've been in the business for a year and a half, and I don't claim to have anywhere near the expertise or the experience that some people that have been in the business for 20 plus years have. But I will say that I am committed to building a brand. I'm on YouTube. I've written books. I started meetup groups. and I put myself out there on a regular basis. And as a result of that, people have been able to recognize me as a quote unquote expert in my particular industry. So what I would encourage you to do is do similar things. If you're a commercial real estate agent just starting out, maybe start attending meetings, networking events to try to get ideas of maybe what you can do in order to establish your own. So if there's no, let's say, a commercial real estate meetup group in your town, maybe be the one who start the commercial real estate meetup. Have people over and just have a coffee meeting where you invite speakers to talk about certain commercial real estate topics. After you've been in the business for a while and you've done a few transactions, maybe consider writing a book about your experiences. Or, start a podcast where you start inviting experts from all over the country to talk about different commercial real estate topics. Again, just establishing your brand and establishing yourself as an expert is really going to help you with building trust with potential clients. So that's my third piece of advice that I would like to share with you. And then finally, number 4, in any industry you're part of, you have to be committed to continually grow and learn. If you're not learning, you're dying. So every single day, I try to learn something about my industry, whether that's reading Louisville Business First, whether that's reading a commercial real estate book, whether that's watching YouTube videos about different commercial real estate topics, whether that's reaching out to speakers for the commercial real estate meetup group and interviewing them on the meetup. I continually try to learn, grow, and expand my knowledge, because at the end of the day, the more I can expand my knowledge, the better I can serve my clients. The better I can serve my clients, the broader my impact can be in the commercial real estate industry. So if I were you, what I would recommend is to join local organizations like CCIM, ULI. Read the top CRE books. I actually have a video that I created on my top 5 favorite CRE books, which I'll post up here that you can check out. And then maybe even consider taking your CCIM designation courses. They're phenomenal courses that can really expand your knowledge in the commercial real estate industry. So those are my top 4 pieces of advice. I hope you enjoyed this video and you gained some value from it. If you'd like to reach out to me for anything in particular if you're looking to lease, buy, or sell commercial property here in Louisville, Kentucky, feel free to reach out to me. My number is 502-536-7315, or you can reach out to me via email at raphael@crisantigroup.com. Again, if you like this video, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. I like providing awesome and engaging content related to commercial real estate. And I guess we'll see you guys next week. See ya.